How's it going, Star Seekers? My name's Gotcake, and welcome to this review of Double Kick Heroes, a rhythm action game where after a metal band's gig is ruined due to an inconvenient apocalypse, they hit the road in their Gundilac and embark on a road trip across America and Europe, shooting and rocking the way through countless monsters on the journey to hell as they attempt to stop the evil once and for all. So before we get into the game, we can check out the options menu, which has an assortment of settings to tailor gameplay to our liking. The audio menu lets us change the volume of general gameplay sounds as well as each separate part of the drums, and this can be useful when playing on single track levels where you want the kick drum to stand out more. As is the case with most rhythm games, we have a calibration menu, allowing us to offset the audio and visuals to match our button presses, and the game settings menu has several options to make gameplay harder or easier, and I'll cover some of these shortly. Finally, we can choose between several button-based or motion-based control schemes, and I stuck with the standard button-based controls, and I think this is probably the easiest considering the gameplay mechanics I'm about to cover. So heading back to the main menu to get into the game, we have 4 modes to select from. First is arcade mode, where you can play through the majority of the game's tracks without all the story elements, and this is useful for quickly practicing tracks on different difficulties. However, if you want to unlock all the tracks the game has to offer, then you'll need to play story mode. After selecting this, you then get to choose a difficulty, each of which affects the number of drum pieces you'll be playing, how many notes you'll need to play, how many monsters appear, and finally how missing notes affects your gun combo. So story mode begins with an introduction where we see our band who have been locked away practicing for 3 months. Unaware of the apocalypse that has occurred in the outside world, they take to the stage only to discover that the gig has been invaded by zombies. So off they sprint to the Gundilac, and we're introduced to the game's mechanics via a tutorial stage. Now there are several different mechanics at play in Double Kick Heroes. Covering off the HUD first, in the top left we see our score and lives, of which we have 3 in total, and these can be thought of as the number of hits that you can take in a level before you fail it and have to start over. At the top of the screen we see a mini Gundilac on a road, and this indicates how far through the current song we are. Finally, across the bottom of the screen is the rhythm zone where the notes we need to play are displayed. These appear from the right side and move across the screen, and when they enter the beat zone we need to press the required button. Now looking to the main screen, we can see our Gundilac fitted with 2 guns, one upper and one lower. Each time a note enters the beat zone we can hit the A button to fire the upper gun and the B button to fire the lower gun. Zombies and other creatures will enter from the left of the screen and slowly make their way towards our car, and depending on whether they're towards the top or the bottom of the screen, we have to fire either the upper or lower guns to hit them. Now I'll say straight away that this whole mechanic presents somewhat of an issue, especially when tracks become more complicated. Whilst the game features some great visuals, 90% of the time your eyes are just going to be fixated on this small area. You occasionally have to glance up to see which gun you need to put a bit more focus on, but this really matters in the game's later tracks, as you end up rotating your controller and using both your index and middle finger to hammer the A and B buttons just to hit the notes fast enough. This becomes extremely tiresome, especially on longer tracks, and I have no idea how anyone manages to play the game using the other control schemes, especially the trigger button mode. So at its most basic level, gameplay in Double Kick Heroes involves you drumming your way through levels, shooting either your upper or lower guns to kill zombies. The weapons you fire begin as pistols and transform into shotguns after you've hit enough notes without missing any, and finally transform into cannons. Weapons increase in damage, and this is important, especially when you're fighting bosses and in the latter stages of the game when you've got a lot of enemies coming at you. Now if you do miss a note, depending on your difficulty, a number of things can happen. On rock and hard rock modes, your multiplier is reduced by 1 when you miss notes, but any difficulty above this resets your combo to 0, transforming your guns back to pistols. Additionally, your guns will also overheat if you miss too many times, and you won't be able to fire them again for a short period of time until they cool down. Now to beat a level, you just need to make it to the end of the song without losing all your lives. You'll then be taken to the map screen where you can move on to the next level. Between levels, the storyline is also progressed as members chat to each other about what to do next, and occasionally you'll unlock a safe house level, which you need to enter and speak to the people you find there for more storyline progression. Now I thought these safe houses had some great artwork, and you often find some very familiar looking characters in them, such as Marilyn Branson, Metal Shetty, Jake and Cage, and the character Hoagie from Day of the Tentacle. So as I worked my way through story mode's 20 plus levels, I was glad to find that the game featured a great variety of rock and metal tracks from a host of different genres, and not just heavy metal the whole way through. As we progress through levels, both the music tracks and gameplay becomes more complex, and first we're introduced to snare notes which add an additional track to the rhythm zone. Hitting these builds up a red meter seen on the left side, and once it's 2/3 full, hitting our next snare will launch a grenade that can kill multiple enemies. If you're playing on higher difficulties, you'll also gain a third track for cymbals, which activates a sniper ability, though I never actually got good enough to try this out. Now if I'm being honest, the difficulties in the game didn't really make much sense to me. Even when playing on normal difficulty, I often found tracks way too difficult due to the sheer amount of kick drums you need to hit in addition to the snares. Dropping down to easy mode removes the snares, leaving you with only a single track, which actually becomes rather dull pretty quickly. And I also found that although it says the number of notes is reduced in easy, on a lot of levels this really didn't seem to be the case, as more often than not there's still an excessive number of kick drums to hit. Now you are able to turn the overheat mechanic off, which helps, and you can also reduce the musical score speed, which doesn't really help, as it just seems to bunch up notes closer together. One final gameplay mechanic I need to cover is steering, and this is introduced in boss battles which occur throughout the story mode, usually at the end of a chapter. Unlike normal enemies, bosses have a health bar which you need to reduce to 0 to kill them before you reach the end of the song, or else you'll fail and have to start over. Occasionally bosses perform an attack which targets a portion of the road, and this is where you need to steer your car out the way to avoid them. Now in the options menu, auto drive is turned on by default, which automatically moves you out of the way, but you can deactivate this and steer with your left thumbstick if you want more of a challenge. So story mode in Double Kick Heroes will likely take you about 3 to 4 hours to complete on easy or normal difficulty, but there's plenty of replayability if you want to try all the songs on harder difficulties, and as mentioned previously there are 4 secret songs to unlock by performing specific actions in story mode, and there's also a secret alternative ending to the game. After you complete story mode you can then check out the other 2 additional modes available. The first of these is Hellgate mode, which features 19 tracks from guest artists, some of which are from other games. Each track has its own unique visuals, and I thought this added some great additional content to the game, and showcased how it performed when music other than metal and rock is used. Our fourth and final game mode is called Fury Road. Now this is an alternative roguelike game mode which sees you playing random levels one after another, and in between levels you get to select a card which provides a perk. These provide various boosts to car and band attributes, and some of them even make visual changes to your car, but I don't think they can be used outside of this mode, which is a bit of a shame. Fury Road contains a daily Fury which has a set sequence of levels and can only be played once a day, and it also has Endless Rage mode which is the same but has levels randomised. So in all, I did enjoy playing Double Kick Heroes, and although I'm not a huge metal fan, I did actually enjoy many of the game's songs. My main issues with it were firstly with the game's difficulty, and I really don't understand why they didn't retain the snare and kick drum in normal difficulty, but just simplify the note layouts and reduce the number of these. I think this would have made gameplay a lot more fun, instead of having to frequently drop down to a single kick drum track just to get through some of the songs. Now I also think the game suffers from the same issues that the Smash Bros style rhythm game It's Raining Fists and Metal did, and that is the fact that rhythm games are generally quite demanding of your attention, and so Double Kick Heroes' other gameplay mechanics all become secondary, which is a shame because it's clear that a lot of thought and effort has been put into both them and the game's visuals, and I think a lot of players are going to just miss a lot of these finer details. So now we come to rating the game. Now I rate games between 1 and 5 stars, with the shovelware stamp of approval reserved for the worst games on the eShop. This rating is based on my own personal opinion on what a game has to offer in terms of gameplay and value for money to potential buyers. And for a rating I'd give Double Kick Heroes 3 out of 5 stars. The game has some interesting gameplay mechanics, fantastic visuals and awesome music tracks, and I'd especially recommend it if you're a fan of rock and metal music and enjoy rhythm games. Like me though, some people may find the game's difficulty an issue and find that the excessive amount of button mashing is too demanding after the 20th track. So you can get Double Kick Heroes from the UK Switch eShop for £19.79 or from the US eShop for $21.99. Alternatively, the game is also available on Steam and will be coming to Xbox One on August the 28th. How's it going, Star Seekers? I hope this review of Double Kick Heroes helped you out, and if it did, hit that like button and drop your thoughts and opinions in the comment section below. As always, don't forget to subscribe for future Switch indie game reviews and content, and jump onto the Star Seekers Discord where I'm always up for a chat. For now though, I just want to say thanks once again for watching, and until next time, game on.